All right, folks, welcome to another live event. We are back. We missed last 2 weeks, actually. 2 weeks ago, we were at Sun and Fun in Florida, Lakeland. And then last week, we were traveling back from Lakeland. So 2 weeks in a row. But thanks for joining. I see quite a few people already in the chat. We've got, we got some fun stuff to talk about today. We always do. Thorold Inspired is here. We have Ethan. What's up, Ethan? James. David has a question. We'll be answering that in a minute. Rick Curtis, Texas Arch Drone Guy, who we saw at Sun and Fun. Also, we saw James came to visit us actually in the studio. We had another student visiting today. We've been getting a lot of visits recently, which is cool. Coast to Coast Drones, Michael, I don't know if I said Michael. Jillian's in the house. Jillian from our community manager from the community. We have Raymond. We have Quantum. Michael again, Drone Lake guys with the cookies, as always. We have Montana Horseman. Zach is here. DK4 Drones. Jeff Splace. After Us Media. LeShow Chandler. We have a lot of people. Cool. So, what did you miss? You missed a really cool live show at Sun and Fun, a drone show along with pyrotechnics and an airplane show at the same time, which was absolutely amazing. Yeah, just really cool. We were able to go behind the scene for a little bit on the Saturday show, thanks to Matt from crap.
And check out footage on News Update.
Yeah, we put the footage in News Update. I'm sorry, Matt. I can't remember the name of the company. Drone. Oh, anyway. Oh, I'm an idiot. I'm tired. I'm sorry. Anyways, who else? We have. The reason I said Drone Lake is because we have Drone Lake guy in here. It's gonna come back to me in a minute, I'm sure. Anyways, we've been busy. Last Friday we had Vic in the studio. We've been recording content for the community. We got like 4 pretty long recordings with Vic talking about a variety of different things. And then we are going to be in Utah in 2 weeks to finish recording a LiDAR course. And then this week we're going to be spending a lot of time on, well, a variety of topics, but the first one is going to be recording the private pilot course again, which we started a while back. We have a new quizzing platform that went live on Friday as well. A lot of great feedback on the platform. It's actually a platform that we developed in-house. It's called QuizBank, which allows you to now take quizzes without getting 404 errors, which we've been getting a lot of on this platform we used to use, which is called ProProfs. Now, for those of you that are in the course doing this, you can do every single quiz now in QuizBank. You can actually go to quizbank.ai and you can log in to see your progress on all the quizzes. And then the only thing that's missing at the moment that we're still working with the developer is the final exam. So you'll still have to do the final exam in the ProProf, the old one. So go and follow the link on ProProfs, and then you'll on Teachable. I'm sorry, you'll be able to see it. This is coming to the private pilot, the instrument, and the commercial course as well very soon. We're updating the database right now with all that information. It's cool. The platform looks like something that was built in 2024, not in 1980, like the other one, and it actually works really great. So congrats to everyone in our team that was involved, including Johan, who led the whole project. Johan is the co-founder. You may have met him on the Friday that we did in the community. So, and the name I was looking for is Starlight Aerial Production. That's Matt and his team. And Great Lakes Drone Company is other company that does a lot of other things other than the drone show. Okay, well, we have quite a few questions already, so we are going to get started. We have David says, as a foreign pilot, may I fly my sub 250 gram drone in the United States? Yes, you can. You will have to do Trust, which is free, trust.pilotinstitute.com. You will have to do follow all the rules. The only thing you don't have to do is registration with a sub 250 gram drone. So that's nice and easy to follow. And then we have Rick says, do you have a preference for a weather app to use for drone flight planning? There is a UAV forecast. That's a good one that I have on my phone. Personally, I use well, it's kind of weird because Arizona doesn't have that extreme of weather. And so usually when I go fly, I just look at the regular weather app. And then if I need something more in depth, I use ForeFlight, but that's paid and I use that for flying airplanes. So it's just a great use because I can get all the data right there. Ethan, you said you had something else? What was the one that you had?
Yeah, so it's an app called My Radar Pro. And it's actually, I think it's about $20, but it does your daily forecast, and then you can also overlay your sectional over the map right here. It'll show you wind, rain, snow, all of the above. It's a little expensive, but it's worth it for sure.
Sweet. And then Drone Lake Guy says Air Weather app is also a good one on here. So, next question. Will DJI get banned since Enzu Robotics is working on making drones? We had a great conversation with Vic on that one. I still don't think they're going to get banned anytime soon, if ever, quite frankly. So the person, if you remember, if you've been watching News Update and even these Monday Lives, the representative that pushed the regulation is from New York, the state of New York. Her name is Stefanik. And she just released new stuff this morning. I was reading an article. I haven't read the actual regulation, but it looks like she's maybe softening her stance a little bit on the proposed rule. They're calling it DFR, but now it's not drone for first responder. It's something first responder. Actually, it might actually be drone for first responder, the name of the bill that she's creating, which is confusing because there's a DFR, drone as first responder, which is when drones get sent to the scene before the first responders get there. But anyway, so we'll see. From what I read quickly this morning, it's still not perfect by any means. There's still some things in there that I don't like, but it's definitely a much better approach than what I've seen before. So we'll see. Engineer Drone Services says about how many drones were in the air for that drone show. It was 500. And the cool thing about it is they actually had it split into two groups. There was 250 on one side of the field and 250 on the other side of the field. And they had different displays at different time because the air show, as you can imagine, goes along the entire length of the runway. And they had fireworks along the entire length of the runway. So these were kind of in the background, just popping up right there. It was just so cool. So I think this is one of the first time where we've seen a drone show with drones on two different locations pretty far apart, which was definitely a challenge for the team. But I have to say, the first night they came back, they went up with 500 and they came back with 500. And the second night they did the same thing. So they did a Wednesday show and they did a Saturday show, came with 500 each time. Not a single lost drone. So that was cool. We have Robert that says, all I'm trying to get my drone re-registered and can't locate where to renew. My company wants almost $45. No. If you see $45, you're in the wrong place. I don't know if Jason has put it in here. If not, I'm going to put it right now. This is where you need to go. It's the FAA Drone Zone, and that's the only place to register your drone. You did the right thing. You saw $45 and you said this is not right. There's a lot of schemes going on out there to try to pretend to be the FAA or look like they're the FAA. They're not. So FAA Drone Zone, log in. You'll be able to find your old registration by logging in, and then you'll be able to renew it for $5 for the next 3 years. So what else? JW says, where are we with the CCP Act? Did they find a way to actually do something meaningful with the positions they have? No, the CCP Act is not dead just yet. Like I said, we just talked about this with Vic. It passed in December, I think. And now it's moving to the next step, but there's very little chances that as it is written, it will pass. So I think that's why Stefanik is coming back with a different writing that's not as severe. Travis says, how do you tell that drone dealers are putting out legitimate ads and those who are fake? That's a good question. Drone dealers, there's quite a few, but yet maybe a dozen solid ones that are out there. So, Travis, if you see an ad, just maybe put the name that you've seen, and I can tell you if I've heard of them or not. But yeah, there's a few out there that I would definitely recommend. Just got to be careful for sure. Go on their website. You should be able to tell pretty quickly, or maybe if you're in the Facebook group, in Vic's Facebook group, the commercial group, or if you're in our community, just put a post and then somebody should be able to give you information. Thorol's Inspired says, do you see Enzu drones really only being bought by organizations that can't use DJI due to the high price tag? Just watch your hour-long Enzu video. I'm going to say this. The Enzu drone is not as expensive as people have been commenting it is. If you look at the price of the DJI Mavic 3 Enterprise and the Mavic 3 Thermal, Enzu is only a few $100s higher than that. Thermal drones are expensive, and the Enterprise drone is expensive. And so you cannot expect them, by doing production in Malaysia, to be as cheap as a DJI drone would be. So yes, there is a price tag because they're not producing with the same volume for sure, but it's not as expensive, as much of a premium as you think. And I will add that if you go to any competitive drone that pretends to be as good as DJI, it's going to be 3 or 4 times the price of the Enzu. And so Enzu is actually a great deal for what you do. Randall, who's the CEO of Enzu, has said during the podcast that we did with Haya on the Pixel Drone Show that if you can use the DJI, then you should not buy the Enzu because it's more expensive, and there's no way that they can make it any cheaper than that. Also, remember that Enzu bought the, not the rights, but bought the ability to recreate that drone, right? To manufacture that drone. That's got a price tag. They have to pay for that as well. So yes, it's going to be more expensive, but it really is not all that bad, considering what you get and the fact that you can get the ability to fly that drone when you're not allowed to fly DJI. So yeah. What kind of drone do they use at the air show? The company that makes the drone is called Lumineer. I spent some time actually talking to their CEO. I think we're going to bring him on a podcast to talk about what they do. It's built in Sarasota in Florida, so not very far from where the air show was in Lakeland. And it's, I don't know how to even describe it. It's a big light at the bottom, which you would expect, right? Doesn't have a camera, which it doesn't need. And it's a battery and then a carbon, or I don't think it's carbon, I think it's a metal frame. It looks like a well-built, home-built drone, if that makes any sense. It's a home-built, well, it's not a home-built, it's a factory-built drone, but it's not finished like a DJI drone would be because it doesn't have to be. It's a utilitarian drone rather than something that's going to be commercially available through, with plastic and everything. It's built solid. Actually, we got to help them to pack everything. They stack them in boxes of 5, and I was very impressed with the build, quite frankly. So it's really cool. It flew for a long time. That show must have been 15 to 20 minutes long, and it still had battery left at the end of it. So it's a really impressive technology, and like I said, built in the US. Just really, really cool thing. We actually had an FAA guy that came along. They are assigned an FAA person, and they have to follow them and ask questions about the operation. He was very impressed with the operation, so that was really cool. By the way, if you hear me speak a little weird, I had tooth dentist work done last week, and I'm still recovering, so my mouth is actually pretty sore, so I have a hard time speaking. Mark says, do I need an ASTM number to show standard remote ID compliance for my Mini 4 Pro with plus batteries? That's a great question. So let me answer this. There is technically a requirement for having a sticker on your drone that says it is remote ID compliant. that requirement falls on the manufacturer of the drone to put the sticker on your drone, not you, the operator. So I've had the discussion with the FAA multiple times because we started offering free remote ID stickers when we send the registration stickers. We now also add a remote ID sticker that you can put on your drone if it's compliant. And we do mention on there the ASTM number that it meets the requirement of. And so, are you required yourself to have the sticker on there? Technically, no. Does it hurt if you put it on yourself? No, it doesn't. That's why we provide them. But it really falls on the manufacturer. So DJI, if you're listening, you guys need to be putting stickers on your drones to say they're compliant. It's actually part of Part 89. And surprisingly, nobody has that on there except for, I think, one manufacturer that I have seen. But everybody else is failing to put those stickers on there. So. I see we had a question in French in here. It's Monsieur Je sais tout, who we met at Commercial UAV Expo last year. He's a French YouTuber that creates a lot of cool content. He's asking if we're going to be in San Diego. No, we will not be at San Diego. I decided to not go to San Diego, which is where AUVSI is having their expo. I am protesting AUVSI's stance on their anti-DJI BS, and therefore I will not be giving them money to go to their expo. So they can use that money against our public safety agency customers and try to take drones away from their hands. So nope, AUVSI, you will not be seeing me at any of your event, and I will not be sponsoring any of your events again. We gave AUVSI over $20,000 last year for the booth that we had, and they're getting $0 this year. And I'm pretty proud of that, by the way. So I will not be sponsoring or giving any publicity to AUVSI other than this little segment right here. Engineer Drone Services says, will BVLOS be easier to obtain in the future here in the US? I see that it is on the way in other countries. Yes, so the idea is that there is an NPRM, Notice of Proposed Rulemaking, that's coming around for beyond visual line of sight flights. At the end of the year is what the rumor is. We don't know yet all of the details. It's the FAA, so it could be delayed a little bit, but something is coming for sure. So hopefully some relaxed rules on how to fly beyond visual line of sight. Don't get your hopes up too much. I'm going to say this right now. Don't get your hopes up too much. These rules are likely going to be still pretty difficult to obtain, which is still, I'm guessing, I haven't been in, I've been in some meetings, but I haven't been in any on the FAA meetings. But my guess is it's going to require additional equipment in order to fly over people, to see and avoid. So detect and avoid, it's called DA, detect and avoid. So I don't think it's going to be as easy as some people may make it sound like at the moment. So I'm going to say that. Next, have you heard anything about someone getting arrested for flying a drone at the IndyCar race in Long Beach this weekend? I have not. We had a student reach out to us a couple weeks ago about getting in trouble for trying to fly over a NASCAR track when there was no event. And he was approached by Secret Service, and I think Secret Service kind of bullshitted him, pardon my French, that was in French, but into bullying him basically into not flying, which I don't think they were allowed to do. There was no TFR in place. It's before the event, and there was no other airspace. So I think he got bullied into not flying there, which is not right. So he sent me an email. I have to follow up. I sent it to Vic, but I think Vic has been busy with other things. So. Overdrive says, not a fan of the company for obvious reason, but what are your thoughts on Skydio X10 if you have any experience? We haven't had a chance to test the X10 just yet. I hope we can at one point. At this stage, they've been difficult to get our hands on because I think they have a limited number of them that they can send to people. But it's definitely on our list. I'm not a fan of what Skydio has done, obviously, with the trying to push the anti-China thing. But with that being said, if we get our hands on one, I will do a full review, a fair review, because that's what we do, of the actual product. Because I do believe if the drone is good, it needs to be mentioned that it is good. And we'll be putting it to the test against what I think is a similar drone from other competitors. And so I can't wait to get my hands on one. If it's good, I'll tell you it's good. If it's bad, I'll tell you what parts of it are bad. I do know that there's something I'm not a fan of, and I don't need to get the drone for that, but the subscription model to fly and get some access to some of the features is not something I'm a fan of for drones or for anything else, quite frankly, because I think the subscription thing is, well, it's good in some cases. For some things, I'm okay with doing subscription for content like Netflix and other things. For flying my drone, I don't want to pay a subscription. I was actually looking to buy swimming goggles recently, and they have cool tech on the inside of the goggle that tells you your pace, your heart rate, and all of that. But you have to pay a subscription to use some of the features, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to do that. If I buy the hardware, I want to be able to use the hardware. If you have cool additional features that I may be interested in, but if it's a main feature that prevents me from using the device, then that's going to be a no for me. So in this case, that's a no. Francis says, any advice for my business that's advertising that I've got the category 1 drone, Mini 2 from Japan, to fly legally at events with sustained OOP. It's 249 grams with cages and RID. Be careful with sustain over people, because you still need to have remote ID. The Mini 2 doesn't have it natively, and if you put a remote ID module on it, then it's no longer a category 1. So be careful with that. It used to be, but now it's no longer the case. So if you're flying over large events, it's technically, it needs remote ID. But how to advertise, I'm sorry. I mean, put it on your website. This is something that you should definitely be talking to your customers, that you can do it legally, and maybe a little explanation of why other people may not be able to do it legally. Educating your customer on who they hire is a good thing. So they may hire someone who's doing it under the radar, and they'll realize that by seeing your website that, you know, it needs to be done the right way. Ben Kenobi is here. Do you see Ben change his name?
Yeah.
Oh, you have Ben over there.
I replaced you, Ben.
Hey, that Ben right there is a lot quieter than our
Yeah.
Ben. That's funny. What is Ben Kenobi? Greg, it's Ben. We've been asked if a VO is still needed for the Avata 2 with pass-through. That's a great question. Do you think we'll ever have a headset the FAA would still consider VLOS? So I haven't seen an official word from the FAA, but I'm going to tell you my position and my interpretation of the rule. The FAA requires that you have a visual observer when you fly with the VR goggles, because you don't have the ability to see all of the airspace, because the VR goggles only give you the feed that you see from the drone in itself, which means that you can't see behind you. You can't really turn your head with the goggles and see all around. I'm going to use the same logic to say that these new goggles with the pass-through mode are still not compliant because of the field of view limitation that you have. In reality, this is about the size of the field of view that you have when putting these goggles on. Anything in the periphery right here, you will not be able to see. And so, for that reason, I don't think they would be compliant. I think the FAA would still argue that you don't have full control or command of the airspace. Plus, not only that, but when you fly FPV, you're going to put pass-through and try to fly FPV at the same time. It's not going to work really well for you. You need to have full view of what is going on. So from a safety perspective, I think it's a terrible idea to be using the pass-through continuously while you fly. At that stage, you might as well not fly FPV and just use a regular controller, because it takes away the advantage completely. The PIP, the picture-in-picture window on the Avata 2 is really tiny in the corner, so not really brings you that much of an advantage. So I'm going to say no, and I'm going to say even if it was a yes, I would say it's a bad idea from a human factor perspective, from a safety perspective. I don't think you have a good command of the airspace. I'm going to put it this way. And Jillian says, Ben, it's Jillian. That's an excellent question. So the internal joke here is that Ben always comes in and he says, Ben. He says, Greg, it's Ben. That's what he says. So to get attention. Anyways, looking forward to Enzo Robotics. When can we expect a demo? They're using the reseller program across the country. So if you're close to a reseller, go talk to them. They may have a unit available for testing. I hope we can get our hands on one very soon, but my expectation is that it's going to fly just like a DJI drone because it really is under the name. It's really a DJI drone. He bought the rights to build his drone like a DJI drone with DJI components and all that. The internals are different. So what I'm really looking forward to is using the Aloft Air Control app to control the drone. I want to see how that feels and how that looks. And we've been working with Aloft for a long time, and I love the guys at Aloft. They're extremely competent, and so I can't wait to see what they've done with it and how it's going to look. So it's cool. I'm also excited about Enzo. I think it's a brilliant idea, and it's a very novel idea, which I'm not surprised coming from Randall. Randall is how can I say that? He likes to think outside the box, so I think that's cool. For the Mini 4 Pro, which ND filter set would you recommend? Didn't we do, oh, you have them here? We did a video on that, right? Was it the Mini 4? Not these ones?
These are the Super Mega Limited whatever.
It's the Mega Limited Edition 16 pack. It's not a 4-pack or a 6-pack, it's a 16 pack. And these have a ton of stuff in here. But yeah, from what we haven't done a video on this, but these are actually the ones that we recommend. They work well. We did a Polar Pro.
Right?
These are Freewell.
Or Freewell.
Yeah, Freewell.
Okay.
And then we did a video on the Air 3.
Yeah.
That was a full-blown video with a lot of research on that. And I think the Freewell came out as well to be the best ones. So, yep, right there. Zach says, Ben, it's Zach. Where are you? We noticed you were missing at about 10 a.m. That's true, actually.
It's still missing.
Well, no.
Oh.
I think it was actually 9 a.m. and I was like, where is everyone? Everybody's been taking a break because these guys, the production team, went to Las Vegas to NAB, which was really fruitful while we were at Sun and Fun. So there was really only one person in the office for about several days when everybody was gone. So cool. Who else do we have? Let me see.
Peter Salatas.
Oh, Pete. That's Peter from. You was he in one of your classes?
Riddle?
Peter, yeah, he's from Riddle.
No way.
Peter Salatas. He's one of my former students. Hey, Peter. He said the company I work for in AU is looking at getting hands-on a good BVLOS simulator. Interesting. Do you have any recommendation? I tried getting into contact with ERU Daytona to get some info with no luck. I don't know, actually. That's a good question. I don't know. That's something that we've done. You might want to talk to Divi with Paladin.
Paladin.
Paladin has a DFR program where they use drones for DFR, and they have the ability to fly some. I don't know if they have a simulator, though. I don't know. That's a good question, Peter. Not sure. Anyway.
Paladin.
Paladin, Paladin, yes. Dwee UAV says, Dwee, that's like in Mr. Mises. Would you use a third-party battery with the Mavic 3? No, personally, I have a personal rule where I don't use third-party batteries at all. I don't believe the saving in cost is worth it. Because potentially you could lose the entire drone and your insurance. Well, if you have insurance, whole insurance, it would cover it. But if you have DJI refresh, it will not cover it. So I would say no. Chris Ritchie says emergency services, police and fire does not need a Part 107 UAS pilot ? But they have restriction. What about when it comes time to inspect the antenna tower? Then they need Part 107. So public safety agencies, some public safety agencies that qualify for it, can get a COA, a certificate of authorization, under which they do not need a Part 107, but, there's a big but, you need to do the training yourself. The agency would have to do the training themselves to the level of at least Part 107. So my question is, does a public safety agency want to take on the duty of creating a Part 107 training program that's equivalent to Part 107, to administer it and to maintain it over time? Or would they rather have people take a course like ours where we keep it up to date and it's going to cost a fraction of what running a program is going to be? So they don't have to, but they still have to do the training. And then if something happens, the FAA is going to come in and say, well, show me your training. And then they're going to be digging in and say, well, this doesn't meet Part 107. If you miss something in there, the FAA is going to be on your back. So I personally, I don't think, and I know I'm biased, but I don't think the risk is warranted in this case. And I always recommend, so does the FAA, quite frankly. A lot of people at the FAA say, just do Part 107. You can still get a COA using Part 107 pilot. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Next question is from Lee. What is your opinion on the Potensic Atom 3 as a replacement for the Mini 2? From what we've heard from customers, the Potensic is not a great platform. I haven't tested it, so that's all I can say is the feedback that we get from people is not great from that company. So that's all I'm going to say. The Mini at this stage, the Mini 2 at this stage is so cheap. I think you can get Mini 2. They were at Costco for like $200, maybe the Mini SE or something like that. It's not worth going with anything else at that price that hasn't been around for a long time. That's all I'm going to say. Did Vic end up at Crumble last night? He did not, I don't think. Vic was pooped because he traveled from somewhere in New Mexico at like 4 a.m. to be here at 9 a.m. to do recording all day with us. So we even invited him to go to dinner and he was just pooped. So I think he just went to bed and then drove to Vegas the next day and then drove to the West Coast after that. So I don't think he stopped at Crumble. How can I do Waypoint with the Air 2S? I can only do hyperlapse currently and want to record a video. The Air 2S does not have the Waypoint functionality, which is only added to the Mavic 4, the Mini 4, no, Mavic 3, sorry, there's no Mavic 4 yet. Mavic 3, Mini 4, starting rumors here. You heard it first. Mavic 3, Mini 4, and Air 3. So, I don't know if the Air 2S is compliant with Litchi. It might be. There's just so many models anymore that I have a hard time keeping track of it. If the Air 2S is compatible with Litchi, which you would have to verify, then that's how you would do waypoints. Next question. Did I bring my drink? Yeah, I did bring my drink. Let's see. Next, Eric says, can I fly a Mini 4 Pro with 249 gram batteries, even if it was sold new with longer flight batteries unregistered? So, sorry, I'm trying to understand the question. I think what you're asking is about registration. So, the Mini 4 Pro with the smaller batteries, the Mini 4 Pro with the smaller no wait, hold on, let me make sure I get this right. The Mini 4 Pro the Mini 4 Pro okay, sorry. Just trying to make sure I get all the right data. The Mini 4 Pro flown for recreational purposes does not need registration. So you can fly it with the smaller batteries. It will broadcast remote ID because it does by default. If you fly it with the bigger batteries, then you have to register it. It will still broadcast remote ID. So that's it. What's all the clapping over there?
And it has nothing to do with the airframe. I think he's asking if he bought one that was originally sold with the bigger batteries, can he buy a smaller battery, stick it in,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, you can buy the smaller battery to stick in. Yeah, it will use either battery that you want to use. Yes, if that was the question. Sorry. Can I fly my drone at home even though the neighbors don't like it? Well, legally, legally, the neighbors don't have anything to say. I don't like loud noise from leaf blowers, but it doesn't mean that I can go to my neighbor and say stop using the leaf blower. So now, with that being said, if your neighbors don't like you flying your drone, go talk to them. Go show them what the drone does and maybe make them feel better. Most people that are afraid of drone think that the drones are spying on them or looking at them really closely. Most people think that a drone is like having a camera on your face right here, and that's the level of details that they're gonna get, which we all know is not the case. So go talk to your neighbor maybe and say, hey, I'm gonna be flying my drone. Come check this out, see what it looks like, and make them feel better. You may have a neighbor that's an a-hole, and in which case there's nothing that you can do, but they can't prevent you from flying your drone. Just don't fly over their property, even though it's legal. It's probably not kosher. Just fly over yours and try to aim it towards you, not towards their property. That's what I would do. But yeah, yep, other than that, that's all I can say. Robert says, I have Holystone HS720 and 360S. Will I need remote ID? So Robert, head over to this page and see if your drone is on the list. The HS720, if I remember correctly, is on the list, but only for like a few serial ID, a few serial number range, which means that yours is probably not compliant, which means you need a remote ID module to go on top of it, which is total BS, quite frankly, because Holystone knows that. We've had discussions with them, and I don't know about the 360S. I'm not familiar with that model. Okay. Whew. Somebody says you can't shoot the leaf blower. I have a funny story about this. Not shooting leaf blowers. But I worked from home for a while before we moved into the studio, and leaf blowers are absolutely horrific to deal with in a neighborhood when you work from home, especially when you do a lot of recording like I did at the time. And my neighbor, who's older, had a leaf blower that was, one, extremely inefficient, and two, extremely loud. So it was driving me nuts, literally driving me crazy. But I'm not an a-hole, so I can't go to the guy and say, hey, listen, I don't want you to do your leaf blowing. I can't even say, listen, I'm recording, can you take a break? Because I don't believe in my time being more valuable than his time. Anyways, so what I did is I bought him a new leaf blower, one of the silent one that was decently expensive, but way more efficient for him. So now he has a leaf blower that I don't hear, ever. And it's way more efficient for him. He's older, which is, cool. So he actually spends a lot less time leaf blowing, and then when he does, I don't hear it. Problem solved. And then, and now he loves me. So yeah.
If he was older, the first one was silent as well.
Probably, I probably couldn't hear the first one, but no, I solved it the easiest way possible, which was to just get him a leaf blower that worked. So if you, yeah, but yeah, I don't really understand the need for leaf blowers. There are some applications where they're okay, but moving leaves from one place to the other, especially when I see commercial places doing it, and they put the leaves on the road. What the hell? Then it goes on the road, then you drive the car, and then it pushes it back where you just blew it from. It didn't solve anything. Get a leaf vacuum. Actually, I have a leaf vacuum at home, which is actually fairly quiet. And then I just vacuum leaves, and then they go in a bag, and then they go to the trash. I don't push them around. But anyway, that's not the purpose of this.
Great full time.
Can I fly my under 250 FPV drone in the park for fun without restriction and remote ID? You don't need remote ID if you fly a drone under 250 grams. Now, as far as can you fly it in a park, it depends on the park rules. So I'm not going to say yes or no. You have to verify that. Is the weight limit less than 250 grams or 250 grams or less? It's
Less than, right?
it's no. Shit, what is it? I don't remember. I should know that.
I think it's less than.
Is it less than? Jason, help me. I don't remember. Wow, that's a brain fart.
Pretty sure
It's on the FAA website. I should know this. I should know this. Anyways,
wait, Jason's here.
0.55 pounds or less. not
0.55 pounds or less.
Ah.
Well, I know it's not grams,
grams.
but
It's 249.6.
or less, so it's included. But yeah, it's true. It's 55 pounds. It's less than 55 pounds or 0.55 pounds or less. Do you have a website building course? No, that's a bit outside of our area of expertise. As somebody who's built multiple businesses over the years and been involved with businesses over the years, find someone who can build you a decent website that is not going to cost $500. If you're only spending $500 on your website, you're going to get $500 worth of a website, which is not much, by the way. Find someone whose specialty it is to design websites, so they look good. That's important, but also so there is a way for you to make it visible to other people and to Google, so that your SEO works well. If you try to learn to build websites, it takes away time that you're going to be using running the business. So by the time you're done building the website, you will have learned maybe a whole bunch of stuff, but you will not have worked on your actual business. Pay the people that are good at what they do to do that for you. It's a very worthwhile investment. Wix, is it Wix or Wiz? Wix website is not great. It's not going to be great for search engine optimization. Yes, you can do it yourself, but it's going to look like everybody else's website. Find somebody who can design a website that's easy to navigate, something that you can actually, customers are going to go on, find the information quickly, and then convert into a sale. That's the job of the website. So websites take work to do right and to make sure that people are converting. Now, it also depends on what the goal is of the website. Now, I'm saying this, our company is worldwide, right, with hundreds of thousands of views to the websites every month. And so our website has to be top-notch so that it converts. Your website for a realtor business, like a real estate photography business, maybe has a completely different goal. So Vic is in the comments right now, which I'm actually surprised because he's in California. Vic says he uses PhotoBiz for his website. So it depends on really what the goal is of your website. Vic also says, I carry a leaf blower for exteriors in the summer, always. Yeah, to clean up before the shoot, right? To move the stuff around, which is fine because that doesn't take 45 minutes to do. Okay. Yeah. Somebody says hiring a good web designer is like hiring a good electrician. It's better to pay for certain services. I absolutely agree. Absolutely. It's just like I'm going to use something else in the business, which is your advertising. You know, hire someone who's competent to do your advertising. By the time you spend time learning to do advertising and keep up with it, it's going to take you a lot of time out of your day to do that correctly. And so I recommend that you also hire someone to do this. When it comes to experimental status per the FAA, does that only refer to an aircraft only, or does that include the remote control? Change out the antenna, longer stick, external power. So Chris, the experimental thing is only for manned aircraft, not for the UAS that you fly, unless you have a drone that's got a Part 21 certification. So the experimental things means what? We have an airplane. We have a Diamond DA-40. You have a Cessna 172 or something that's been built by a manufacturer. They have that aircraft approved under Part 21, it has a certification. And that certification means that it's got an airworthiness certification. If you modify anything on that aircraft that is not approved by the manufacturer, that aircraft is no longer airworthy, which means that it can't fly. So, as an example, our aircraft has spark plugs in the engine. If I go and change those spark plugs to spark plugs that are not approved for that engine, then my aircraft is technically no longer airworthy, which means that if I fly it, I'm going to get a fine. I can get a fine from the FAA. There are some people that build their own aircraft, in which case they don't get a Part 21 certification because they build their own aircraft. So it's not like Piper that gets this airworthiness certification. Instead, they have an aircraft that's experimental. And when the aircraft is experimental, then you can do things that are a bit more outside of what you can do with an aircraft that's certified like ours. Drones, unless you have a drone that's very complex, like Amazon, for example, when they do drone delivery, or any of the drone delivery companies out there, they have a certification and they can't do anything they want to that drone. If you have a DJI drone or if you have your own FPV drone and you decide to change one of the motors, that doesn't make it unairworthy. If you have a DJI drone and you change things on it, you add components and whatever, it doesn't make it unairworthy. So there's really no such thing. I'm not going to say entirely, but there's really no such thing as an experimental drone. They are, but they're a bit more complex. So you can do whatever you want pretty much with your drone, unless it has one of those certificates that I just talked about. I hope that answers the question. It was a long answer, but next question, where are we at? I'm studying for my Part 107, that's Jim. And in some references, it seems the UAG test and Part 107 are different. Are they the same, or do I need to take 2 exams? Same thing. There's no such thing really as a Part 107 test. Officially, it's called a UAG, Unmanned Aircraft General. A lot of people call it, including ourselves, call it Part 107, but it's really not what it is. If I register my Air 2S under my 107, but my wife also flies it recreationally on her own, does she also need to register the Air 2S? No, once it's registered, especially under Part 107, you can fly it any way that you want, so you're good there. She can fly it as well. Chris Ritchie says, after you crash your drone, what needs to happen in order to be able to legally fly it again after repairs? Does it need sign off, or are we allowed to make alterations? Same thing that I mentioned earlier to that question you asked. No, you don't really need to do anything unless that aircraft is approved under Part 21, which I'm guessing is not in your case. So no sign-off needed. Very different from the manned aircraft world, which is also why the FAA doesn't want drones flying over people, and they're okay with having Part 21 aircraft fly over people. Gina Mary says, if a state park has a no-flight zone sign, but the FAA doesn't say it's no-flight zone, can you still fly there? Thanks in advance. So, state parks can restrict operation from the ground, which they control, right? The state park owns the land, and they have the ability to restrict you from taking off and landing. They don't have the ability to control the airspace. Technically, you could fly from outside the park into the park, but, as I always say, because you can doesn't mean you should. I wouldn't. If the state park says you can't fly there, just don't fly there, or maybe try to ask for permission, but I just wouldn't do it. That's just personal. But yes, you could fly from outside the park into the park. What are good sites for jobs once you have your Part 107 license? That's a difficult question. Part 107 gives you the ability to be hired as a drone pilot to fly for commercial purposes. You still need to have a set of skills that you apply. It's kind of like saying I'm getting a CDL, commercial driver's license, and then asking, where can I apply for jobs? Well, then you go to the transporters and you say, okay, I have a CDL, and they're going to say, well, what kind of skills do you have or experience, driving big rigs and all of that. So the Part 107 is just a certificate to begin to allow you to fly. You need those skills. There's a lot of different places where you can get jobs as a Part 107 pilots, but it depends on what experience you have on what platform, what you're interested in, maybe what previous experience you have. let's say you were a lineman working for an electrical company doing inspections. You're the perfect candidate to go fly a drone for them because you've done the job already on the ground. Now you can do it from the air flying the drone. Same if you were an inspector for a roof inspector, and now you can use the drone to do roof inspections because that's a set of skills that you had. So the drone is just a tool in your toolbox, right? It's a flying camera that you're going to be using to collect data. So the jobs that you're going to be applying for depend on what you're interested in and the skills that you have. The telemetry, distance, speed, altitude on my Ruko F11 Gym 2 has stopped working. Nothing I've done has resolved. Help, please. Unfortunately, I am not familiar with this. I would say contact Ruko and see what they say. That's not a brand of drone that we've been flying. You're a subject matter expert and highly respected in this field. Thank you. What do you think of the Sonoran Desert Institute SDI drone program? I have not attended, so I can't talk about the quality of it. I've seen it. It's not cheap. I don't know that you have to pay for someone to do it in person when you can learn a lot of these skills on your own. That's what I'm going to say. And it's not directed directly to SDI. I'm sure they have a great program, but there's a lot of these skills that you can learn on your own. That's what I'm going to say. As far as the quality, I can't speak of that because I have not done their program. Drones made after a certain date are supposed to come equipped from the factory with remote ID. That is correct. So what about radio control airplane and helicopter? That is also the same. Why are they not included in this? They are actually included. So drones are UAS, unmanned aircraft system, in the United States. So when the FAA says drones, they mean anything that's radio controlled. Remote controlled helicopter, radio controlled fixed wing aircraft, all of those need to have remote ID if they are over 250 grams and flown for recreational purposes. So if they're flown under Part 107, any drone of any size need to have it. Drones made after, oh, I just read that. Well, next question, we're getting close to the end here. Is there such a thing as renting out a drone like what flight schools do with the airplane? Yes, absolutely. Try before you buy. You might not like such a model. Yes, some places specialize in renting equipment for jobs that maybe you only need the drone once. Our friend Jared from Texas Drone Company, he rents aircraft when the client needs something very specific that he doesn't need to have as an asset, then he goes and rents it. Our friend Mark that runs Extreme Aerial down in Phoenix, he does the same thing. So I would say for something, let's say you had a LiDAR job. LiDAR units are 30, 40, 50, up sometimes even 6 digits to purchase when you may not have enough jobs to warrant for it, but you can rent it for a couple weeks, a couple days for whatever job you have, then it makes a lot more sense. And if that's something that works, you get more clients from that, then at one point it might make sense to buy it. But also think about a $60,000 unit. How many jobs do you need to do to pay that off? And is renting making a lot more sense when when a new unit comes out, you could be renting the new unit instead of having one that is older and not doing as well. So I don't think it applies for every bit of equipment, but yeah, I don't know. If we ever did a shoot here and it required a very expensive camera and we only needed it for that one shoot, I'm gonna go rent that camera, or a very expensive lens on the camera. I would absolutely do that. So, yep. Fire Chief says, do you have to take the 60 question exam for renewal with $175 price tag? No longer, not anymore. The FAA changed that in 2021. You can do the recurrent online on the FAA website for free. It's going to be done right here. I'm going to put the link. It's called 677, ALC 677. That makes you current for 2 more years and 24 calendar months. So make sure that you do that. But no, you don't need to go to the exam, the facility. That exam actually doesn't exist anymore. You cannot even schedule it anymore. 677, ALC 677. That makes you current for 2 more years and 24 calendar months. So make sure that you do that. But no, you don't need to go to the exam, the facility. That exam actually doesn't exist anymore. You cannot even schedule it anymore. You cannot even schedule it anymore. Is there a recommended lumen rating brightness for anti-collision lights? No, they just need to be visible from 3 statute miles. We made a video on this, and we recommend the Firehouse, Arc 5, anything from Firehouse. I keep pushing Firehouse because I know the folks that work at Firehouse. We see them at trade shows all the time. We talk to them. We have a good relationship with them. I don't make any money selling them, but they're US based. They actually support law enforcement and a lot of public safety agencies. So they're great to work with. I think Scott is actually a former firefighter, and he does a lot of good. He's provided us with a ton of lights. Anytime he has a new model, he sends it to us, and he sends us a bunch. And he says, when you go to trade shows, give them away to public safety agencies. So I will continue to support them, Firehouse, because of what they do for the community. So just like you guys support us because we provide a lot of free services, they do the same thing on their side. So please support them. They're US based and US manufacturing. So yeah, great company to work with. They're not as cheap as some of the other options that you find online, but you know what? They're also the brightest. We did a lot of testing, and every time they came up at the top. So a lot of options they have. What does SATS locked mean in the UAV forecast? I think what it does, it's kind of blurry. Maybe people have better explanation, but it looks at how many satellites your cell phone is getting and tells you that there is a lot of visibility in the sky to get satellites locked for your drone. It doesn't tell you necessarily how many satellites your drone has, but what it does is before you take off, it gives you an idea of satellite coverage in the area where you are. Most drones these days have satellite count in the app in itself, so if you have a DJI drone, you'll be able to see that and put that in there. What is the price tag of a UPS drone and Amazon drone? What is the weight capacity? I don't know the price tag. I don't think this is, well, years ago, I talked to UPS. I think it was UPS. Flight Forward. I think it was UPS. I don't know if I'm supposed to repeat this, but that was years ago, so whatever. That NDA is gone. The price tag was in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, 100 to 150,000 for a drone. But also keep in mind, there's a lot of R&D going in there, and at the time they were building a lot of. They didn't have a ton of production output, which means the drones are more expensive. I don't know what it is today. I don't know that they have made a lot of progress. Anybody that you talk to in the drone delivery space is telling you that it's a space that is not moving forward as fast as people were expecting, which is not surprising to me. I've always been, I haven't been anti-drone delivery because I don't think that's the right term, but I've been skeptical that drone delivery is a viable solution. I think some companies have done well with it because they have gone away from B2C, business to customer drone delivery, which I think is the wrong approach. I don't think that's a viable thing. Using a drone to deliver tube socks or a coffee or a burger, I think it's very novel and may sound cool, but I don't think it's viable long term. Using drone delivery to do B2B, business to business, or to deliver medication in the medical space, I think that makes a lot of sense. So I have a lot of faith that drone delivery will grow in that space and not necessarily on Walmart delivery or Amazon delivery, which I don't think is the way to go. But I don't know, I may be wrong. I've been wrong in the past, and if I am, I'll tell you when I'm wrong again. Last question before we end the show. Just got my first drone, DJI Mini 2 SE. Was wondering what test needs to be taken in order to be able to share on social. Sharing your information. If your channel is not monetized, sharing videos on social media doesn't require Part 107. So it's all about the intent of the flight. So if the intent of the flight is just to share, you go out to just record footage for fun and then you share it on social media, that's fine. That does not require Part 107. Okay.
But take trust.
But take trust, yeah. Do the trust. That's free. 30 minutes and then you're done. It'll give you a better idea of all the rules to follow. Mark says, I'm also a big fan of the aerial pixel mount for the firehouse strobe. Keeps me from having to Velcro. I like that. Cool. All right, folks. At the end of the show, my jaw is killing me right now. Can you tell? I can barely open my mouth, I feel like. Thanks for staying to the end. We're back to regular scheduling. I think the only time is in 2 weeks. We're not going to be able to do Monday Live. We're going to be on the way to Utah. Ben, thank you for being so quiet back there. This was your best show to date, I think. So, yeah, there you go. And we'll see you all on Friday for news update in the morning. Friday happy hour. I think we have Ethan on the show. On
Tom or Ethan.
well, Tom. I don't know if Tom is going to be here, but we'll see. It's either going to be Tom or Ethan. We've been doing. If you're not familiar, if you're in the community, which everybody that is enrolled in a Pilot Institute course is can access the community.pilotinstitute.com. We do a Friday happy hour at 4 p.m. Pacific. And we bring an employee from Pilot Institute and then introduce them. So we've been doing this for 4 weeks now, I think. We had 4 employees. We had Jesse, we had Vic was here. He's not an employee, but he's a guest instructor, very active in the community because he was in town. We had
Jillian.
Ben, we had Jillian, we had Jesse, who came from South Africa, was on the show as well.
Did we do Jared?
No, we didn't do Jared. We started after that. So eventually Jared will be by here. Yeah, we won't be there on Monday. I don't know. Well, we'll be traveling on that Monday, so I don't think we'll be able to do one.
This Friday is going to be the best.
Friday's going to be the best because Ethan is going to be there. So Ethan is employee number 3 in the company. So we'll be employee number 2 now because we had one retire. So I don't know if they lose their spot. No, I think Mark is still employee number 1. So you'll be employee number 3. We'll be on the show. That's it. Thanks for watching. And we will see you all on Friday for something.